Hello, everyone. This is Michael Lean, and this is another Bristlecone Broadcast. Today, we're going to be talking about SRE, also known as Site Reliability Engineering. And we have two various distinguished people with us today. We have Dimitri, who is the head of our Modern Engineering Studio. He has over 30 years of experience from everything from mainframes to delightful digital experiences, and he happens to be an expert in this. And we also have with us Udaya, who is also within the studio, has over 27 years of experience and has worked with clients such as Home Depot, Walmart, Estee Lauder. He's worked with every industry, but as you can tell, his expertise happens to be in retail and consumer goods. So let me turn it over to you, Udaya. We'll start with you. What is SRE? Can you give us a sort of a broad definition?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. SRE, also known as Site Reliability Engineering, is a operating model. It's a discipline and also a role that incorporates the software engineering practice into operations and the site reliability and the scalability of services in production. So it's a combination of skills, as you can make out, that brings in product engineering, the aspects into the services in the production environment.
Got it. So, but why is it important? Why is it something that IT professionals should be thinking about?
Right. So what happened with the services and cloud coming into the picture, and with the amount of traffic that is going on the cloud, there is no one particular role or one particular competency that was able to manage the reliability part of the services, the scalability part of the services. While the product engineering is okay while developing from engineering side and pushing it down to production, the infrastructure and the operations team has its own do's and don'ts. They're not able to really monitor proactively the services for scalability and reliability. There is this gap that was found out a few years back. That's what this SRE role and capability is supposed to plug in.
Got it. So who owns it? I know the gap was only defined a couple years ago. Is it typically in IT? Is it in operations? Who, in well-defined companies, who's owning this?
Yeah, that's where this comes in. This comes under the CTO, obviously, but the SRE is a centralized group. It can be formed in multiple ways, but what we have seen from the past experience is if it is a centralized group cutting across the engineering teams, the DevOps team, and the infrastructure support, that is a recipe for success.
Got it. So this is for both of you. What's an example of SRE in action which has actually resulted in positive business outcomes?
For the cases for the companies where the critical business applications exist, and the whole business rely on that applications, such services, such engineering practices as SRE are critical. They need to understand and bring the availability of all of that system all the time, 24/7, 35 days a year, so non-stop, and with the maximum performance and the optimization of all capacities of that applications. And that's work for the SREs. So these guys, they can do the monitoring, they can do the incident response, they can do the review of the incidents and automation, what and how system can react on certain specific cases. The further one is ability to do the release and capacity management in cooperation with the engineering team. So that's the things which are critical for the business, and organizing of all this reliability for the platforms. That's also in the scope of this specific engineering services.
Got it. Can you bring it to life for us by talking about a specific client and some of the projects that we've done in this field?
Right. So one of the leading, the B2C customer in the pharmacy space, when they moved to production on cloud using microservices, some of the services like the order service, the recommendations were pretty heavily, loaded, especially during the peak holiday season when we saw the load coming in. That scalability was not found in the initial, testing that was done. But then when we looked at how it has been productionalized, the DevOps team had limited knowledge. The infrastructure team had its own, limited knowledge of that. So it had to be looked at holistically. So some of those services of commerce, orders, and recommendations So how is it, the instrumentation is done for that, for observability, and also some of the, production scalability aspects from a design perspective also had to be brought in. So this is how the SRE group was able to, build those services for reliability during these high, traffic seasons.
Got it. And besides the services that we provide, are there tools on the market, right now that are used for SRE?
But there are tools, but as Dimitri said, there's a lot of automation comes into the picture. Some of these, incident management, alert management, some of those, effort intensive work is automated by any of the, programming languages that we know, like Python and others. Even though the tools are available, I think some of the well-known programming languages, which is Java, Python, and others, are used for scripting and reducing the, effort intensive, monitoring that the operation team does.
Got it. So this doesn't seem like it's an out of the box solution that you can just plug in and it kind of fills that gap. This needs professionals. It needs a process and practice, and then, yeah, I'm sure there's some tools, but it seems like it's a methodology.
It is, and it's quite a, I would say, natural evolution. So for the companies who started to work with the IT maintenance, IT services, helping them to operate in the certain space, in a certain infrastructure. When the infrastructure became more complex, like cloud infrastructure became a part and significant part of the business, DevOps as a specialist appeared as a professionals to configure all the infrastructure and elements of it in the cloud, and sometimes together with the on-prem. Next level of that evolution is actually SRE, its ability to unite all and operation and DevOps and production teams all together in one single space and use them the most effective way. So it's all natural, but that's a methodology, that's a skill set for the people who have a certain amount of the knowledge from all three major areas of these business operations.
What would you think some common mistakes that are being made today that companies should be watching out for?
Yeah, disregarding of this connection. So if production team works independently, operation team works independently, the ops team work completely independently, and there's no connection between them, that will lead completely different branches of the operations, and they will never connect. That's one of the problems many companies already see. Because again, naturally, that was completely different departments under different business owners, and they never been united. And that what SRE can actually help to fix and organize that the most optimal and efficient way.
Right. Without this capability, just to add to what Dimitri said, so infrastructure and DevOps team will still rely on what we call the reactive monitoring, but SRE team brings in what we call the observability aspect, which is more proactive monitoring, which is what is needed in the cloud space and in the digital space. That's number one. And there's a lot of repetitive alerts that keep coming in. Unless somebody focuses on that and see how the self-heal of the application work, if there is an error to some amount of degree, self-heal should be implemented to reduce the effort of repetitive alerts coming in, repetitive mundane effort that's going on from the support and infrastructure teams. So some of these three key things: observability, automation, and self-heal. That's what this SRE capability will focus on.
So let me ask you a question. Just a few days ago, we saw that all flights were grounded because of an issue with the FAA and their technical systems. Do you believe something like SRE, if they had a robust methodology, could have prevented that?
I believe so. So if years ago the NOTAM system for the notices for the airmen would be applying all the necessary methodologies for the site reliability, because they have very different infrastructure in place. They have domain frames, they have on-prem, they have cloud, they have phone system as a backup, which was actually overloaded in this particular case when the system get down. And if FAA applied all the robust methodologies for the SRE in place, including security operations, including DevOps, including the IT support in a full scale, and predictability for the failures and ability for the self-healing. So that situation wouldn't happen. But let's assume the system is more than 30 years old, and they probably want to upgrade and maybe will, especially based on that incident we had recently. I believe that a full-scale SRE would be implemented in that systems. We could prevent it.
That's fascinating. So last question, if a client engages Bristlecone and they're very interested in beefing up their SRE practice, what's a great way to engage with us? How do you start?
Yeah, we have, based on the experience, we have come up with a structured framework of how this can be engaged in two levels. One is enablement and enrichment. The first one is on the scoping, and what we call the observability catalog is what we prepare. It's a baseline of all the services they have. We come up with the SRE runbook for them. Then we focus on the next steps of alerts management, number one, then incident management, automation, and self-heal. So these are the three things which we can propose to the customer based on the review that we have on their landscape. That's number one. Then further into the enrichment part, we can also bring in more prevention and automation and what we call the SRE governance dashboard. So to show them how the reliability of the services and the applications work.
Fantastic. And SRE is something that we've put a lot of investment in. Can you tell us a little bit about the team that makes up this capability for us so that those watching know that this isn't something that we try to sell and then we go hire contractors? This is something that we've really sort of put our chips in and we're serious about. So can you tell us about the makeup of the teams?
Right. So this is a combination of skills. As I said, it has some amount of the product engineering, design, and architecture skills. And then we have the knowledge of DevOps is also key to this. And then from the operations side, this team or the role should look into how the operations team can help bring up scalability. So this combination of the skill is what we try to pick and groom. There are two ways we do it. One is we will pick up the qualified DevOps and infra support engineers and kind of upskill them on some of the scalability and design aspects. And vice versa, we can pick up some of our tech leads and architects and also kind of build additional skills on support and infrastructure. Both these models will work for us in building up the SRE skills.
So with SRE, is this a type of problem where a client engages us and then we're with them forever? Or can we teach them how to have this in-house themselves so that we're actually going from a crawl, walk, run scenario with them and then we can sort of leave them and let them manage their own SRE methodology?
I think it's both. First of all, we can come as an advisory side, and we can analyze the existing environment the client has, and we can go through and see what is needed, what is missing, and we can build the architecture for the site reliability. That's the first step. The second step is actually configuration and the automation of everything. And again, that's the part where we can step in and help developing it. We can keep maintaining it in the future, because every company is a live organism. It comes with new systems and some updates, some changes. All of that happens, and we can help with maintaining that. But the initial setup, initial advisory, and setup of the SRE as a methodology, that's what we can deploy and transfer to the client. But we still can help with the maintenance for the years. It really depends what the priorities for the client.
Fantastic. Well, Dmitry, Udeya, thank you for talking to me about this subject. To those watching, if you want to learn more, we kept it high level, but if you would like to dig deeper, you can have an exploratory call with either of these distinguished gentlemen, and we'd be very happy to do that upfront for you. So again, thank you from myself for listening to another Bristlecone broadcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.